republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We just need approval of minutes for May 8th, 2018. Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, fine. We're going to move right on to you. I know you need to get out of here within the next 15 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You have the report. You have the report that was sent from Curry and Associates in front of you regarding the end of the session. This is the first time in 4 years that we had a bipartisan budget that was passed and signed by the governor, which is a little unique in itself. In doing so, part of the budget that affects the county that I would adhere to is the local distribution funds that went from 10% down to 5%, so there'll be some additional money coming back to the county. And handling of the sales tax fee for them to be able to collect sales tax went down from 2% to 1.5%. So again, there's a little bit of a movement on that side of the equation. So that'll be more money coming to the county than what it was last year. You know, of course, everybody pushed for getting the local distribution fund removed and back to where it was, but they made a compromise of reducing it by 50%. So those are two of the issues that I think impacts the budget. I think some of the other bills that you were tracking, Senate Bill 2610, which is that business enterprise program, that made it out of the Senate with no, basically no dissension, but it got to the House and there's a lot of basic pushback, not only from the counties, from municipalities, and from the road builders and other people. And what ended up happening, they called for a vote, and I think it ended up getting 58 votes. So
which one was that one? If you
Senate Bill 2610. That's a business enterprise program. That's minority hiring program where they're requiring governments that received over $1 million of motor fuel taxes to have a what they call a business enterprise program in place. Will County, my understanding, did not, which most counties do not have one in place. IDOT has one in place, and it was pushed by the Women's Business Association. And like I said, it came out of the House, it came over to the House. There were some negotiations on the county side. In talking to the sponsor, was that it had a 2018, July of 2018 date for if it got signed to implement. If you didn't have a plan, obviously it would give nobody time enough to implement a plan. We amended it to push that back. There's also a couple other things dealing with professional services and whatnot, and the road builders had some issues to make sure that this didn't attribute to other parts of projects. There's a lot of issues that came at the last minute that I think people were, I wouldn't say nobody paid much attention to it in the beginning. It got a little highlighted once it got from one chamber to the other. So that's on postponed consideration. I don't think this issue will probably go away. In talking to Jeff, obviously, probably need to proceed with looking at putting a plan together. And
that's what I was just going to say when you were saying that. I did hear the saying that this was going to be, this was rolled out this year, but next year be prepared. So I think this would be something that we need to have.
Yeah, I would definitely take a look at it, that and start dealing with it and get ahead of the curve. It's minority hiring program. I'm sure you have something in place on how you deal with it now. I don't know, but this dealt with anybody. It was also amended to go from $1 million in motor fuel taxes to $2 million, which still affects the county. So
this is just on our, so for our engineer, for our roads.
Roads, yes.
Right. Roads so this would be, did you talk with Jeff when this was going through, and he knows that?
Yes, he had multiple conversations with Jeff.
Okay, this might be something to be putting around to transportation.
And he's well aware of it, as well as all the county engineers are aware of it. And all the municipalities, it'll affect the city of Joliet, for example, probably In the county, Joliet would be affected by it. I'm not sure if Bolingbrook meets the cusp of 2 million if that amendment stays, but I would assume Naperville, which is part of into Will County. But I think those are only other municipalities that this might affect.
What bill was that?
Senate Bill 26.
Senate Bill 2610.
2610?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's in here.
I would assume, I didn't,
That bill.
because it probably did not pass, it might not be in here. It's not in here.
Okay.
But I just wanted to bring your attention to it because we've had multiple conversations on this bill over the last month and regarding the impact. And but like I said, it did not pass out of the House, but again, still got veto session. I think you'll see some form of this in the future. So, the other bill that was retracted was House Bill 4594. That was the task force that was set up to relook at the court fees charged throughout the state to put them uniform. That did pass. There is a two-year sunset on that bill, meaning they'll revisit it. So if stuff is off base or didn't, somebody's getting shortchanged or somebody can prove a fact. I know there's quite some concern here in the county about some potential impact. But the only thing I can tell you that is a 2-year sunset. They'll come back and revisit this because they try to do their best to uniform the costs throughout the state. And again, this was a task force that was put together by the Supreme Court or the court system to reevaluate, and this is what came out of it. So, and it did pass. And so I just, that's a bill that probably, once, I think there's a fee structure put in place, and I'm sure there's going to be some concerns about going down. But again, it's a 2-year sunset. This will be revisited in 2 years. So, we also had multiple discussions this past again on the CCDD, our favorite subject. Again, we probably had, I would say 20 some plus meetings in Springfield with all the players. It got, the chairman of the Senate Environmental Committee took a lead on it, and Representative Senator Kaler, and tried to put everybody together. We could not come up with an agreement. The agreement that was being pushed by the CCDD was more beneficial to them. Groundwater monitoring was, in one meeting I was at with the AG's office and the CCD folks asking to find a resolution. They told us in the beginning, they were told that groundwater monitoring would be part of the equation. We were never told that. So basically we tried to, we convinced Senator Kaler to continue the whole hearings throughout the summer and continue to discuss the matter and not pass a bill that would have been probably more beneficial to the CCDD folks than would have been for the county. But we've had multiple meetings, talked to endless amount of time locally here, but down in Springfield, so that's an ongoing issue. So that'll hopefully we can do some things locally to enhance enforcement and whatnot here locally too. So, and that's kind of it. I'm sure there's questions. I'll be happy to try to answer anything that we might have, or anybody else has questions.
Question, but so much of that of the statement that I would really like to see maybe this summer, that now you can be home and we can kind of get a handle. The one thing that we, and this has happened like the last couple of years, where you send out, you and Julie send out just a list of all of these bills. And what happens is maybe one of our department heads, may it be Sue from the health department or Jeff from the, they're not being flagged. They're not being, they're kind of being overlooked. And then it comes out, the 11th hour, and you're getting that phone call.
Well, 2610 and 4594, we flagged those bills early on to say, hey, take a look at them.
Right.
And what ends up happening, and this is no disrespect to anybody else, everybody has an association. So the county engineers have associations, everybody has an association. So somewhere down the line, somebody sends out an alert to the association members. So what ends up happening is occasionally we have a limited amount of time to try to impact the bill. In particular, in 2610, it moved out of the Senate with no opposition, nobody's impacting. You guys called me and said, hey, I got a call from so-and-so. So I immediately went to the County Engineers Association lobbyist, and we started talking about it, and I went to the County Association, and they did not have a position at the time on it. So it was kind of like everybody was like, okay, what do we do? So I talked to Representative Davis, was a sponsor, had a meeting with him, brought out some of the issues that we're concerned about, timing, money-wise, whatnot, as far as getting this done in a timely manner. Unfortunately, it was delayed because a lot of other people then interjected at the last, but these are the type of issues that pop up, and it gives us, it's better to have a little bit more time to try to impact it in the beginning than trying in 2 weeks where everybody's not focused.
And this has been an ongoing issue, and it's also, so when they put these out, they put out the bill like this year, and it might not have gone, the chances of it going next year are pretty grand. So I would almost like to propose for us to kind of figure out a date. We've kind of done this before on an off legislative committee day for us to kind of do a workshop with department heads and their agendas. And the one thing that I really would like to see a better communication with our department heads for, the sheriff, the state's attorney, all of this, to have, when they're getting these reports, and for them to look at our reports that you're sending us, and as well as their association, to see how this applies to Will County.
I would love to be copied on any of these
and I've been
reports
saying
that
this
are
for years.
receiving from any other elected official in the county, so I can at least bring it to the attention and say, guys, what do you want to do about this? This came from the Sheriff's Association, this came from the Highway County Engineers Association, the Health Department. I mean, if somebody would forward it to us that this is their list of priorities from their association, and if there's a hot button issue, we can at least find out if there's reality to the situation or not, and then we can impact it. But if we get it at the last minute, I'm sure they get information on an ongoing basis. Because I think everybody has an association.
Oh, they do. We got the clerks, we got the state attorney, and I told you I went to that one meeting down in Springfield, and they handed me their agenda, and I'm looking at this. I've been on this board for almost 8 years. I've never seen those copies before, and it was very, very helpful, effective. Got them over to you. Granted, it's kind of the 11th hour here, but it's not too late. So if we can get a handle on that, get a handle also on where the department has, and kind of give them, because everyone's busy, just kind of going through. And we say this before, I was talking to them over at DuPage. Well, the difference with DuPage is they have a lobbyist for each one of those elected officials. So they don't have that.
They still don't do much.
We sure didn't we?
That's not on the record.
No, we just had, they have a lot of other things going. We don't always have the same agenda. They have a large population, so. All right.
Brett, the associations that you mentioned, their priorities, obviously, they're going to be interested in HB or SB. Are you informed when those associations does raise their voice and or concern? Do you get copied on that?
No, that's what I'm saying. It'd be helpful if your local elected officials or say county highway, if somebody is
they get
part of the association, if they want to forward it, their email.
So you want them to inform you so you can.
Sure, I think it'd be helpful.
Okay.
Especially on like Senate Bill 2610. I mean, it was very helpful because we impacted it at the last minute. But it would have been much more helpful if we would have started in the Senate, where it ran out 54 to like 2 or something like that.
I know the city of Joliet is going to Springfield about that. They've been very much, the Black Chamber and other associations around the state of Illinois, they've been very much involved with that.
And, it's an issue that's going to come. It got a lot of traction. It just got, there were some initial problems with the implementation of it that last, and again, things at the end of session has a tendency to, people start leaving. So this bill could have passed if there were a couple more people in the chamber at the time. So that's what I'm saying. you know, I wouldn't ignore this bill.
And they're out to what, November?
Yeah, they could bring it up for a vote again in November.
But they're out now.
Right, to November.
Which then becomes, yeah, and then veto, but it's not gonna,
Oh, it could be.
it could resurrect it.
Yeah, absolutely, it's postponed
So this summer,
consideration.
that's why,
You
again,
can
so,
call it again.
and to be able to make sure that our elected officials and our department heads are informed of these bills that could possibly come up. As we know that we got involved, we listened to the residents, and we got involved with a couple of their animal welfare bills, and our one of the dog in the hot car, House Bill 4191, talking with Senator Connolly, is going to probably be coming back in for veto. His
That was
senator-
a bill that was very strange. I love those bills. I really do.
Liar.
It's hard.
Or a farmer.
But, yeah, it did great. The House, it gets to the Senate, it went in front of criminal law. Well, you have a whole room full, you have a committee of attorneys. How does anything get through criminal law?
It's a very tough committee to be in because you have a bunch of attorneys who try to out-attorney each other, no offense.
And that's
But they try to
exactly-
out-attorney each other in the committee. And it's the worst committee to ever send a bill to, especially if you're a layman, because they come in there, they just answer your questions that you can't ever answer yourself. And, yeah, it ran into a chopping block there. So
Right.
just south of 80 is not as big as a deal as it north of 80. It's a different atmosphere, and you have to understand that.
And, you know, being in question, and this is, if, you know, talking with any of the residents here in Will County, and you talk, this has become a couple of these issues of us listening to the residents, and it's as well with everything going on with the commercial breeders and with the pesters, and also just on a side note on that, with the pesters, of going through and spending, you know, last year, a year of research and talking with Doc Shields and our animal control and our overfilled shelter. So if you don't have that humane whole side of where you're looking at when we were trying to go and block any of that and bringing on more puppies into Will County, it's taxing on our residents. It's very expensive. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're bringing them in, and the health issues, and so there's been a lot of controversy with it, but there's a science to that madness, I promise. So.
Let me get to something simple. I don't like to call it CCD because it has the word clean in it. So I was going to call it the quarry dumps. You know, on the water, on the water monitoring, but is it they don't want any monitoring, or they don't want to do the monitoring? I mean, because there's a difference. Whether they're just flat out against anybody monitoring, or
Well,
they just don't want to do it.
Senator McGuire and Representative McDermott and Senator Resner were kind of our champions this time around. And McGuire, being grown up in Joliet and being aware of some of the old quarries that were kind of starting to be filled ahead of any kind of regulations, he was very concerned about historical sites, we call it historical sites. We offered to limit it, the AG's offered, and we offered to limit it to certain type of sites. Geographical, you know, if they can determine there's a problem with the watershed or whatnot close by, that they might have larger sites, that were big volume sites, might have to have, and then historical sites. If you prove there's something in historical sites that, say, if something was being dumped in 20 years ago before regulations, that maybe that's what should be looked at, because we don't know what's actually in those facilities. They're unacceptable, that they push back on that constantly. You know, what was interesting through this whole process, you learn, you know, we have a site that's barging in from Cook County. That we found out in dealing with Dean. We went out to the site, and what they call the transfer station dumped at Pulaski and the canal. So they're bringing stuff in from the south side, dumping it there, loading it on the barge, 200-some cubic yards, bringing it down here. All the records are kept up at their site in McCook. It's Hanson. there's some problems with that site. We don't know how that's being tested or how it's going to, we need to get on top of it. We have a delegation here, we'll working with Dean and that, we'll probably have a better understanding of how to approach that type of site. So we have some uniqueness, and because we had so many of these spills, people could be barging this in from one transfer station down here, unloading it to trucks here, and then taking it to different sites too. So we need to.
So the monitoring is at the transfer station, not at the...
Well, the testing is done at the transfer station, and then I think what they do here, and Dean would have to explain it because he's been out there with his inspectors, and I think they give you some, winding of the volatiles and whatnot to see if it's contaminated once they unload it. I don't know, it's a very, it's not a real good system.
And actually, Dean, he's jumping up and down. This would be another...
Dean, I gotta get someplace, so...
This will be another question.
Right.
This will be another big question that Dean can answer. Have we ever gone back and maybe re-looked at the definition of what is clean debris?
Yeah, they try to change it, they try to actually change the technical standards in this legislation, that's why we oppose it. They want to, their question of the last go-around of the testing that they did, the massive testing, they're saying that some of these natural occurring elements that they tested for that are above the levels are naturally occurring, and they want to be able to change that standard to 2 years exempt, so most of these violations would then go away, and then 2 years come up with a new set of standards.
They did that once already, right?
Yeah.
And then they hired, so they did that once already.
Well, we went through, when the rules were made through the PCB, and actually we had testified, they agreed to a certain standard called the MAC table. And when the EPA did their testing, a lot of sites ended up getting above levels. So now they don't like the MAC table because, of course, they got found in violation, so they want to change it.
They want to raise it to their compliant.
Yeah, that's the reason.
In certain things. And actually, the UK is, in some of the respects, is not in disagreement with it. So we have a conflicting mentality.
I think this would make for a great as well meeting, just maybe focus this summer. We simply cancel our meetings. I would like to really stay busy this summer, maybe put this on our agenda where we talk about this. And we kind of get it, and we also look at possibly doing something more on that at the local level, as we do have a tendency of sometimes looking to legislate what our issues are, and maybe we can see what we can do here.
I have one other question in relation to this, and it deals with the fees. And that is raising the fees to allow oversight agencies then to have the resources to monitor a little more closely. Has that been part of the discussion? Fees?
No, the fees have not. We've been, because of the relationship with waste management within the county, we've been fighting the battle of being accused of being funds for waste management, which we're not. We fought that, and we obviously, that's not the case, but they try to use that very effectively. Yeah, it's because we have so many of these facilities within in the county. I'm not sure if it was not really part of the discussion. No. They didn't offer it, and we didn't bring it up at that point. We were looking for,
the trade-off would be a few good ways, but we would do the monitoring, that type of trade-off. I mean, they'll pay, but
Not another agency, but for us to
we'll
do
watch
it.
it. Even if the EPA got a fee to help monitor.
The fee could be one area, but there's a lot of loopholes here, really. I don't know what was covered before I got here, so I apologize, but where they can just sign off on a site with, the PE or the property owner in a lot of cases. And then my understanding is that the PE signs up for a whole bunch of loads at one time. So there's a lot of loopholes that need to be closed, because that is what's coming into our quarries or our sites is soil that really hasn't been really checked thoroughly, a lot of it. And there needs to be more, and I think that's what Brent and Julie were trying to get at, was the testing part, before it ever shows up, you know, and then in the transfer station, that really concerns me, because we have no control over that. We have no authority to go into Cook County and inspect that site. So we need to put pressure on the.
And that's why we need to have more discussion. We can put an hour, we can put an hour on this subject. I think it's that important, what we have in Will County, because when I'm learning being down in Springfield, not everyone has the same passion for this to be getting done. So I think we need to do it here.
One other real quick question on loopholes and regulations. I mean, does an agency write the regs, like the IEPA?
They write the regs for the pollution control board, and then their pollution control board can either accept them or reject them or change them. It's kind of an unusual system. The EPA will do the rulemaking. They'll write the rules. It goes to pollution control board for review. They'll either accept or deny them. They'll either hold a public hearing at that level if they choose to, and that's where we're lost on the groundwater monitoring, which we're still in court at the Supreme Court with that rulemaking where they pulled out the groundwater monitoring. That's what did it. The pollution control board pulled the groundwater monitoring out of the rules from the EPA. That was part of the original rulemaking process, and they pulled them out through the testimony. They felt it wasn't warranted to have groundwater monitoring. And
Testing probably needs to be even strengthened.
the testing is very weak. You can have somebody can go out to a site and a PD can do a test and verify that the soil is safe. He does a sign off on that site. That trucker or whoever's hauling, the excavator, who's ever hauling from that site, he could stop that site, feed it over here, and load up and use the same permit.
That's what I'm talking about, these loopholes.
There's big loopholes. And these guys will all portray like they're all innocent, and they are right. When they come to the site, quote unquote, it's been signed off on, but there's so many loopholes before it gets to the site, we don't know.
That's where our problem is.
Well, we have our work cut out for us, and we're going to do it. I know this man needs to get on the road, and I promised you, we went a little 15 over.
Yeah, I'm stealing your time, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
We'll be in
Thank
touch, and we'll figure out these meetings, and we'll be able to, this is too important for us not to, spend a whole meeting hour on that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Good, now we are going to go right on to our federal. We're going to go right to DC. Feel like I'm a podcast or something. I'm going to segue on to Washington, DC now.
Good morning, this is Brett Jim.
Good morning.
Morning. Hi.
Hi. Okay, we're going to segue right into you. You don't have to listen for approval of minutes, nothing.
All right, well, first of all, congratulations to the county. With the news of the state federal freight funding, in the email that we sent last week, this is a long time coming. You guys, this has been, freight funding has been your top priority going back to as long as I've been working with you all, which is 10 plus years. And, you pushed for dedicated funding in MAP 21, and that moved the ball a little bit. They didn't quite do that, but freight became a priority and on everyone's radar. And then in the FAST Act, they finally put in some discretionary grant funding for freight as well as the formula dollars. And you guys have taken the issue very seriously. You put the money in for the comprehensive study and worked with the Will County League and of course the work that the Center for Economic Development did, John Grueling and Schneider was all helpful. This starts because you guys made this a priority a long time ago, and $50 million is a lot of money, especially $50 million in federal funding. That's a lot of money. So you guys should be really proud we're thrilled about it. So congratulations on that. Hopefully, this just puts you in a position to get those dollars annually for your other projects, because you guys certainly need it. So that's wonderful.
Head west on East Fenton Street. Then
Moving on to the National Defense Authorization Act. As you all know, you all worked with Congressman Kinzinger's office taking the lead and others to provide for more local control. At the end of the day, that's what you guys wanted. You wanted more local control of decisions, and right now we're at step 3 of a 5-step process, but we've taken good and active measures and put a lot of hours into this. If you're not all familiar with this, essentially there was some restrictive language on the Prairie View landfill, and what we've worked to do over the last several months with the whole delegation, really, but with Congressman Kinzinger and Holgren and the others kind of taking the lead. We've worked to get that language taken out of law so that you guys have more local control and you get to make the decisions, which is great. The Senate is working on that legislation this month, or this week, I should say, the next couple days. They'll likely pass their version this week, and then it'll go to conference committee, and we have broad bipartisan support, so we feel good about it. Waste Management's been supportive. They've been partners in this advocacy effort as well. So it's been a real team effort with the county and Waste Management and the delegation.
Can you explain a little bit more of that? I think as a few, we've talked about it, hasn't something of that been onto the agenda? And you and I talked about this last week. I received a call, and I was just more so into the concern of our Prairie View and what this legislation would do. And it wasn't that I was, hearing, it's not going to be that Waste Management has this control of what is going to be going on there. This puts the control into the county. This is not, so we can make those decisions that would be best for us and that of the business sense, and as well for our residents. If I'm correct, that's what that is doing with our landfill right there, because they're on the Army Corps.
Exactly. You guys were told because of federal law that you couldn't do everything that you might want to do. We've worked to try to eliminate that, so you have more local control. You guys are the decision makers, and if the process moves forward in a positive way, and that the changes are made into law, you guys will then have more local control and more of the decision making, which we feel like for the county, you guys always want to be in charge of what's happening locally, and that was the aim of our advocacy effort.
Everybody should always understand, Waste Management is just the operator. It's owned by Will County, not by, they have no interest in the actual landfill. They operate it for us, and they charge a fee for that, which we determine what it's going to, we determine what the fees.
And it took me many years to figure that out, so I'm not sure everybody in this room knows that.
The county totally has oversight of the landfill. And I think Waste Management had a 20-year operating agreement with us.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, host agreement.
20 years, and then we're going to renegotiate. And it's up, what, 20 what?
Well, 2004 is when it started, so 2024.
They're, our agreement with Waste Management's over. We either have to renegotiate with them, we could extend it in the meantime if we wanted to. Talk about some expansion out there, perhaps. So, but everybody should understand, Will County owns the land. They'll give us all that money because they like us, it's because we own it.
So if we have 2024 is our, when we go with that, so there's nothing, so this could pass, they could sign it into law, But then we still can't really do anything with it until 24 when we have a new.
No, what we would do next is start negotiating a new host agreement.
So this will have to be a
reflect
whole
the
new
change in the
host.
law. Yeah, because that is not, our whole situation is different. So we would hopefully, I think it would turn out to be better for us because over a long period of time, we should be able to do more on revenue, more for our citizens, for all that. So I think we'll
So
do
we can
fine.
we can make more money.
Yeah, well, and for a longer period of time.
I might also point out that a percentage of that revenue goes to solid waste, but the money also comes to the general fund.
Absolutely.
So it's used for all types of county operations.
Oh,
And
no,
we
that's part of our budget, that's, they're a budget line.
And we
I mean,
all
a line
understand
item.
that any revenue is all new.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the update, and, we're happy to discuss this offline if you need more information, but it sounds like you guys have all the information.
And Nick's up here too.
Just one quick clarification. When we extended the life previously, that actually extends life beyond our current agreement with Waste Management. So technically, our operator agreement ends before the life is projected to end, which isn't a horrible thing, but it gives us an opportunity to renegotiate the contract to extend it to the projected end life. And based on the last negotiations, we did increase, both with Prairie View and with the Laraway, we increased some of the revenue sharing because Laraway is a separate issue, but they're connected. When we did the negotiation, we increased the revenue and got some additional payments by Waste Management, which kind of were directed towards some of the charitable giving. So all that will be on the table. Again, I'm sure Waste Management may have some asks too, but it'll be a negotiation and we can get a good deal for everybody, hopefully, to do that. So.
Right, this is a great opportunity, kudos, because this is a great opportunity for all, not just of that where the restriction, but now for us to.
There is another step
Sit down
after
and-
that, though. They'll have to go through citing again for if they want an expansion, if there is an expansion of any kind. So, not the life of it necessarily, but, well, actually, that too, really. So we'll have to deal with both issues. The end of the landfill and the size of the landfill, if it's going to change. So, anyway, just so you know, there's another step. But you always negotiate, you cannot negotiate a host agreement while you're going through citing. It's in the law, says you got to do that first, then you go to citing. So it's a process. It'll take many years. So it's not, this is step one, just so you know.
Remind me, I want to ask you a question offline when we finish up a call I got.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And so, those are kind of the big efforts in Washington. A lot of talk has been focused on foreign affairs, but other things that are going on this week, the House is likely to vote on several opioid-related bills. Some of them change treatment. Some of them change the status of fentanyl. We've sent numerous articles on the process over the last couple of weeks. We'll continue to report on that, but we're closely monitoring it. The Senate hasn't really worked as much on those bills, but they're expected they may have some floor time this summer. The other items being worked on in Washington are the spending bills for fiscal year 19. They're moving pretty quickly. If you all recall, there was a large agreement that set spending for 18 and 19 at certain levels, so it's allowed them to move a little quicker. We're likely to see spending at the same level, maybe a little higher in most areas, what we saw in fiscal year 18. So that's a positive. They're marking up a lot of those bills and voting on them. They just passed a 3-bill package last week in the House. That's really kind of everything going on in Washington. It's a lot of stuff, but it's a lot of positive.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Here's a little side personal note. I just heard President Trump wants to get 80 more ships for the Navy. There you go.
Yeah.
Now that I'm a military mom, I call it this.
No, we understand.
All right. Is there any questions?
but I was making one other comment.
Sure.
You know, Brett, you mentioned our role in federal, taking a look at freight funding, and you know, I like to say that, you know, those who aren't aware of it was basically the Illinois counties that really, and Will County being an important part of that, who really pushed this, who got NACO to take it up as a priority. So I like to think all that came out of basically the local area here in Will County. We were successful. And I'm mentioning that because we work through large associations like NACO, and we work through our own consultants. We were pretty successful in affecting something that had national implications. So I just want to point out that you know, we were really behind that, and you know, we held the first freight conference for NACO here in Illinois, and we thought we'd have maybe 60, 70 people, and then we wound up with 100. We tried to stop at 150, then 180 counties came to that conference in Naperville a number of years back, and that really was the springboard for all that legislation in Washington, in my, I believe. So I just wanted to make that comment that we were extremely effective, and when you work with these national associations and get them on board, it really can make a difference. And I know sometimes people say, well, what do you get out of NACO? Really, you can get a lot of, you can get some significant
like
legislation,
you get what you
policy
put in.
changes. So anyways, I just wanted to,
That's
just us patting ourselves on the back.
That's an excellent, and hitting this man on the back, saying excellent job. I also know that you have a time frame as well that you need to get off the phone, Brett. So we will be in touch, and thank you for everything you do.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Have a great morning, and appreciate you getting us in here. Take care.
Thank you. Okay, and just a little, I didn't want to push you off on that, Jim, but I know that Brett needed to get off the line. And for those, and I do love seeing that more and more are getting involved with NACO and going down there, and that's what I was saying, it's you get out of whatever you put in and going to these sessions. And it's not even just going and you're learning, but the amount of networking and benchmarking and figuring out and how we can work together, and how we've worked tightly with, you know, DuPage, you know, going through and with the freight, and Jim Healy with the National Association of Illinois State Counties, and kind of going, when we have these meetings, and this is what we're doing. We're a lot better when we're joining forces, and how we go and we conquer any of these issues and these dollars coming out.
I may also add that, you know, Denise Winfrey's being considered to be on the NACO board this upcoming year, and I think she's also being considered for the chairman of lunch. So I think thank her for putting all her time in. It takes a lot of time, time. And we will be bringing a resolution of support for her that we'll send to NACO.
This year I've been vice chair of membership, and you know, we have the monthly, we get to, like every month we have these calls, and then I probably have anywhere from 2 to 4 on the side, and as we go through and we're trying to conquer and getting more members, getting more counties become members in Illinois of NACO. We are still at the bottom. Well, Don with the transportation has just been amazing. Matter of fact, we're going to, this is a perfect segue into our next 2 items that we're going to talk about.
I have an old business thing before we go into the new business. Last meeting, I asked the Sheriff's Department to give me a policy and procedures for when they arrest illegals, and I didn't get it yet, and I'm assuming that it's going to come to you, and you didn't obviously give it to me, so I don't have it, and I want to make sure that I get it real soon, because that's really important, that I understand exactly what you guys do.
When arresting of that and then finding out an illegal, what is the process that the Sheriff's
When you arrest an illegal, what do you do? I don't know. And what happens to that illegal? You know, so we have that guy that, after I asked, then the next day, there was an illegal that was arrested for 3 violent rapes, but real extremely brutal violent rapes. And I don't know why he was arrested over 30 times with warrants and everything else. Why wasn't he deported or called ICE before he did the rapes? And that's why I really got to find out, because I don't understand what's happening, and I need to understand, because I don't want to go forward not knowing.
But I'm saying narrow that definition. I think there's a difference between seeking out someone who is perhaps illegal, undocumented, and knowing if they're undocumented illegal. I mean, I think that's the difference. I would only ask if you know someone is here illegally and has committed crimes, what's the procedure? You know, so I just want to make a differentiation between, you know, seeking somebody's status and knowing their status. If you know their status is illegal, what do you do? Maybe you report it to immigration folks. I don't think it's, you know, I don't think it's up to us to detain them any longer.
And I always thought that's what
So
the sanctuary state that honor.
We're not, these arrests occurred prior to August of last year, and there was no sanctuary anything. You know, this has been going on for a long time. The guy has 3 different birthdays on his arrest records. I mean, it's pretty obvious that there's a problem. And I just want to know, what the heck are we doing? You know, because if there's illegals that are arrested and ICE is not called, then we're opening ourselves up to problems. Especially like this guy, he'd get arrested, then he wouldn't appear in court, his bonds would be forfeited, and there'd be a warrant out for him. Then he'd get arrested again, the same thing over and over again. And I don't know the policy. That's what I have to know, what their policy is, because
Would you feel
really,
comfortable coming up next month and giving us a...
I don't want it verbally, I want it in writing so that there's no
Even better.
arguments. We have to know what are we doing, because we could in essence have criminals running around on our street because we didn't call ICE.
Get what you're saying.
Let me ask another question. Well, just put this on the sheriff's department alone. I mean, I assume this is all part of the judicial system. They're in front of judges. You know, as somebody told the judge their status. And the reason I'm saying this is unless it's one of those kind of fixed bonds, you have a traffic ticket and you just post bond.
Well, I asked the chief judge, and he said his knowledge, ICE never gets called for anything. I don't know who's responsible to call ICE, and that's why I want to know the policy.
My point is,
Did you ask Bob for this?
I talked to them, and I was told by Mr. Contro to look at the Trust Act, and I looked at that, and that's kind of ambiguous because it talks about detainers and immigration warrants. So I called down to the state, and then I really don't have a good answer to that. But a lot of these other arrests were prior to that agreement and that Trust Act in August of 2017. This guy's been arrested all along for a long, long time.
Is there a procedure, Bob, that the Sheriff's Department has when getting an arrest that is illegal? Is there certain steps that you're taking that you
We follow the Attorney General's opinion, and we can send the Attorney General's opinion. They've already put one out. It's about 6 pages long.
Okay, if you can just get that over to Steve Ballard.
Yeah, but I need to know we talked before. I just want to know I'm not saying it's even your responsibility because I don't know. But I need to find out
they follow
what the policy is. Does the court, is it their responsibility to call ICE? Is it the ADF? Is it the state's attorney? I don't know who it is.
He just stated he doesn't have his own internal policy. He follows the Attorney General's.
Okay, well, what's the Attorney General's policy? Is that the Trust Act?
We will send you the Attorney General's opinion.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
yeah, I just have a quick question.
Why did it take a month to just make that statement. I'm just wondering, Steve, you put this request out for a month, right?
I
So either somebody has
spoke to Steve 2 days afterwards. If there's a
Okay.
request that you need, we don't have to do it at a county board meeting. Everybody on this county board has called me in the past when they have issues
Right.
on the phone. We're always there.
Okay. Was he made aware of the state's attorneys? What you just indicated to us just now? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
That does put up,
Yeah, you know,
that does also kind of puts back to when I was talking about department heads and anyone through. The best way to go and follow any of these questions, or if there's questions on legislative or really just everyday procedure, is to make sure you email them, copy Reagan, and be able to go and we'll be able to follow up, because there is a procedure. I mean, we all know, like, we're all guilty. You know, okay, I'll get back to you, and then.
well, that's why I came to the committee, because the last time
But
I
I'm
wasn't
saying-
given the stuff when I FOIA'd it,
Right,
and
but
then Jim
just
said that we're
Send
not.
them a quick email, and then they can be able to
Well,
respond.
I brought it
And then
at the
Reagan can
committee
also
because of
follow up
that,
if needed.
Suzanne. I brought it to the committee, it was transparent, all open, and that's why, because when I did it before, it went on for 5 months.
And we are policy
With
here, so we
emails.
can make this an
With
actual-
emails, it went on 5 months. Now this, you know, so
Okay.
I wanted to get it done because I feel that we need to know, because this is a dangerous situation if there are illegals that are criminals running around on it. And I don't even know,
Okay.
but I do know that Luna guy that did 3 violent brutal rapes was illegal. And he was arrested over 30 times
And
with
no one's
warrants.
arguing with you.
So what happened?
Right, no one's arguing with you, Steve. I would like to see that too, so thank you. We're going to go right on to the Illinois State Association of County Membership. Reagan, did you, oh, Bob.
I was just talking to Phil Mock, he's familiar with that. He's asking questions about gas containers. If that would clear anything up.
All right, Phil, what's the thing?
The policy that the state passed isn't any different than what the real statutory laws were forever. They have 2 different types of holds. One's a warrant hold and one's just an administrative request. Administrative requests have never had to be honored where it was actionable if you didn't do it. It's something you could have done. But the warrants are just like any other warrants. If the administrative law judge issues the warrants, then they're on it. And that's what it's always been.
You know, let me say this. You know, I knew what it said. And you know, let's use a little common sense here. It says you don't have to do it. It doesn't say you can't do it. It doesn't say you can't make the call. And when you have someone who's an habitual criminal, and you know they're illegal, and you keep grinding them through the system, you know, until they commit such a horrific crime, then we're going to do something. You know, I mean, you may not have to do it, but don't you think you should make a call to somebody? I mean, I don't know who makes the call.
Our office has before made calls, besides the sheriff.
And I think the state's attorney's office has made those calls. I mean, so the point is when you have somebody who's continually in the system, and then skips out on court dates, doesn't shows up, disappears, gets another identity, and you know it's the same person, somebody should be making the call. Because he's a criminal, because the person is doing criminal acts. So all I would say is, you may not have to do something, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing something. I mean, you see these cases. So, you know, so.
Mary, did you have a?
Yeah, just for a little bit of additional information, the administrative hold, and we can make the call, but ICE has 72 hours to come pick them up. And what the Illinois legislation did do was prohibit the sheriff's office from holding them longer than that. So if ICE isn't down there in 72 hours, we gotta let them out.
Right.
So I just wanted to make that clear. We can no longer hold them beyond that period of time without an actual warrant from the administrative law judge.
You know, Mary, it would be nice that if we did keep some type of record when we make the call, to say, we've made the call.
Well, there
They
is,
did
I'm sure,
not show,
right?
they didn't show up, we held them as long as we could legally.
I'm sure it's noted in the individual files. I don't know that we keep a log though.
Well, I mean, even if it's some kind of internal, That's kind of one thing, so I'll cover your own butt.
Probably when we get the case management system, we'll be able to.
There you go, okay, good. All right.
Which we'll be looking at.
Who's supposed to make the call?
Wait, Steve,
I-
I have one more. Brian, Tom?
That's my new name, Brian. I think, to me, this is, if somebody's arrested 30 times and they're not locked up for some reason, that seems to me to be a problem with the judicial system. I know we have, I've seen a lot of documentation in the last 6 months of multiple time violent convicted felons in the city of Chicago that have been caught in possession of a firearm and been released on an I-bond in Chicago. And that kind of stuff shouldn't happen. Regardless whether the person has legal status or undocumented, it doesn't make any difference. If somebody gets arrested and charged 30 times and is convicted with a mess of those crimes, they shouldn't be out on the street. Jails exist to protect the public from the dangerous.
Your trend is going in the opposite direction.
I understand that, but it's wrong. There's crimes that people should be locked up for, and there's crimes that people probably shouldn't be locked up for. But when they're a violent criminal, they belong in jail.
There's no one that's going to argue with that. You're 100% correct.
Gary, you were going to tell me who's responsible to make the
I
call.
don't know that there's a legal responsibility for anyone to make the call. There's nothing mandating.
No, there's no requirement mandating it. It can be mandated.
Can make it, you don't get it.
Right. There's no federal law saying you must notify. But there are state policies that, hey, we want to get rid of them, or jail wants to get rid of them, the state attorney's office doesn't want to prosecute them over and over again. So there's an incentive to make the calls. But there's no mandate.
I'd also like to clarify, in regards to Mr. Luna, he stated that he was arrested, prior to the recent felonies, possibly up to 30 times. You have to understand, it's not always the state's attorney or the Will County Sheriff that's the arresting agency. He was arrested by the city of Joliet and other municipalities. So it wasn't always the sheriff, and sometimes it's not always the state's attorney prosecuting, because the traffic ticket, some of these other municipalities have the ability to prosecute those cases too. So I just want to clarify that. Right.
I saw, the majority of the arrests were from Joliet, but then he was put in the Will County Jail because he was under the custody of the sheriff then, and then he goes through the ARC courts. I mean, I'm just trying to find out what happens, because to me it could be a potential really dangerous, like Don said. It's a dangerous situation if we have somebody that's a violent illegal on the street, and that guy happened to be one. When he was arrested for solicitation of prostitution in Joliet, that should give you a hint that he's probably a predator.
Steve, also, I think this should be on judicial. I don't even know legislative would be the appropriate. But we only have a half hour. We got a couple more to go. I am sorry, not saying that I'm not at all thinking. This is dumb, and it's very important. I'm going to go right on to with our new business with Illinois State Association of County Membership. The one thing, Reagan, I thought we were going to do the resolution for the dues. Is it attached?
There is a resolution attached to the blank amount for the dues.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Right before our resolution.
Do you want to see it?
No, it's not on here. So you know how we normally have it under for our agenda? That's fine. It's fine. Okay. All right, very good. Well, we're gonna, what we need, what we're doing now with the Illinois State Association of Counties, and we've been meeting, I do sit on the board right now. Nick and as well as Reagan had gone to our last one that was in DuPage. So each month, it will be moving to the different counties in the various counties. We're actually, we're going back and forth. We're going to have September. So there will be another one come July, it's August, whatever. So we had talked about it's a structure, and we go back to kind of what we were saying with NACO. And we discussed this before, where there's been several associations. You know how we were just talking with Brent Hassert about where is the State's Attorneys Association, where's the Clerk Association, and all these different associations. Well, we have down in Springfield, we have several. We had, one time Metro Counties, we had Illinois Association of County Board Members, we had, I think we had 4 at one time. And granted, so we sit, and I was just saying I'm vice chair of, as well with membership at NACO, and we have these conversations, and they go, what not to do? Illinois, you have several. We need you to kind of go under one umbrella, one association, so when we have any of these issues with the counties, it's kind of like IML. They have, the municipalities has one, the township association. They have, the one, and they're the voice. This is where everyone kind of gets together. And when we were just talking here a little bit ago about Senate Bill 2610, there was the conference call. Well, it was Brent Hassert, I think someone from DuPage, and 4 different heads of 4 different county associations. So the whole idea and the whole goal here is to keep it under one. And with that, Deborah Sims and Jim Healy and myself and a few others have kind of gone and started this whole crusade. And we're going to have the structure like NACO. We're going to have we're not going to call it the exact, but it's kind of like the same. It's going to be, the lobbyist of that for the large urban counties, so the Collier counties, and then we're going to have the downstate, and then as well as the and to be able to go ahead and have, because sometimes, and this is what I try to explain when we're down in NACO, and I'm going to explain, next month when I'm down there in Nashville, of saying this is where we are at. This is now what we are doing, but Illinois is different than a lot of these states. We have, here north in the Collier counties, we can have completely different, opinion and agenda of what we're going to have onto the downstate. And that's why we're really trying to make this and organize it and get it together, that we would be joined as one, as Illinois State Association of Counties, but that in fact, we would have the different consultants to be able to go and lobby on the issues. 99% of the time, we are cohesive, we are one, but there's going to be times where we're going to have different ideas. I always kind of go back to the issue when we got so proudly rid of county board pensions, which was great. I think majority of us were in favor. We never brought it up, we never voted on it, so they did go away. Well, at one time, municipalities, townships, and there was others that were on this bill that Representative Franks had, but the IML was down there saying, no, they don't, elected official, municipality, they don't want this. So they were pulled off. Township, where was counties? We were not cohesive, we were not as one, so we were not a voice. And again, there's been other situations, but that one really kind of sticks out to me. Jim?
I may also point out that, excuse me, NACO only recognizes one association. And the reason that's important is because they do recognize the Illinois Association of Counties, because all our appointments come through the state associations. So they will, even though they may ask you want to be on this committee, the state association still has to send it forward. That's one issue. The other issue is NACO supplies some funding to state associations, and they don't fund Illinois in a lot of cases, because they say, well, what association are you? And they won't split it up amongst numerous associations. So by not having a association that we all get behind, we miss out on funding from NACO.
In Illinois Association, we didn't have that whole agenda, the lobbying, the legislative part of it, and that's why that is going to be full. And it's not just, we're in legislative committee, so I'm having this conversation of what we're talking about, what is going on in Springfield and what's going on in DC. But like Jen had said, there's definitely other benefits that we have of that with NACO, with our insurance, with Nationwide. It's kind of like a co-op. The more that you purchase, the better that we're going to have, the better deals that we're going to have for our employees and for our parts. We have the insurance cards. There's several. I'm not going to go into the whole benefit package for NACO, but there is different beneficial. Matter of fact, I might add that flag box downstairs is full. So we should start really talking about that and maybe submitting to see about getting a scout, a Boy Scout or a Girl Scouts in there for, or wait, what is it, Scouts of America? I think they changed their name.
I'd like to make one other point. As effective as I think NACO is, that's how ineffective our state associations are. I mean, I wonder why they're even there. Yeah, I don't think they're very effective whatsoever. And, you know, the township association is stronger than our state and the county association.
Same with IMO.
And so I have some real issues with all the state associations and the effectiveness they have. And I think it's pretty weak. So
And that's going to change, and that's what we're doing.
Well, if we're going to go to a new association, you know, I would personally like to make sure that, you know, they're going to be a strong voice for counties. And I realize the issues can be different for downstate than they could be for the northern part of the county. I understand, you know, rural has, you know, we can deal with all that. This constant, they're neutral on everything. Our current associations, they don't do anything. I don't even know why they pay lobbyists. You go tell, hey, we have no position all the time. I mean, so the only comment I would make is that, you know, we need to demonstrate, this new association will have to really demonstrate how they're going to be effective in advocating for counties. You know, I'd like to see something more from them on what the plan is, Suzanne, and how they plan on going forward and how they're going to represent us, especially in Springfield,
And
where
that's what we're, right.
we must be the weakest governmental lobby in the state for sure.
Well, it's kind of like what I was saying earlier, like if, you know, you can offer this, and if you're using, when the Illinois Association of County Board Members, and this was the closest that we had, you know, we had Taylor Anderson, great lobbyist, you know, and I would call Kelly all the time, go through, she goes, out of all these counties, she's like, Suzanne, you're probably one of the very few that even call me, and to share what your agenda is, to share what is going on, to get onto these calls. Reagan, even before she was our chief of staff, I would call and pull her on calls with the attorney side of anything that of judicial. I mean, Will County has been, and we've always kind of been that front
Part of
runner.
the association is to all the counties and say, what's your position on this? Or are you aware of this? I've seen earlier today, very often, we're not even aware of legislation that's going on. The association should be in letting us know what's your position on this. Even if it's like,
Well,
just give me an email. Don't send me a report once a month, here's all legislation that's out there.
Right, thank you. That doesn't work, but this is why, you know what we're also doing, Jim? And this is something of that, working with Healy, and so we went down, so Jim Healy and I went down into Springfield, had the conversation at the conference with the Clerk Association, with the State's Attorney Association wasn't there, the Treasurer Association, so they were having their conference. So we went and rolled this out, and majority of them are also going to be they're going to be free members, but they're going to be members of this too, because I had said the only way that this is going to be effective is if we have them involved. That how can we go and lobby for of what the state's attorney is needing to do if we do not know what the association is? And how many times have I sat in this seat right here and had asked, you know, may it be Weber or anyone else, or shoot, where's your association on this? And the only way we can be effective is if we have that information at hand at all times. So that's where we are, and we do recognize that. I've been, you know, as I was saying this earlier.
Make sure you got a good game plan.
Hey, I got a game plan. I got a great game plan.
I recognize a lot of it.
So that's, and the big thing, you know, of calling, you know, it's the same way. Let's just, you know, let's be honest. There's even times where I'm down there or I'm talking with legislators who would say, okay, I see Jim Eustace on this. Where's Larry Walsh on this situation? You know, I see Larry on it. Where's Jim? You know, it just needs to be, these legislators do want to make sure no matter what side they are on the aisle, they do want to make sure that the counties, the actual association, that the directors are, you know, or the elected officials are going forward, where everybody is at. And I've had, when Metro Counties was out there, they were out there lobbying for something. I'm getting a call going, where's Will County? What association do you line yourself up with? That's a great when I get a call like that.
Could
So,
I ask you, Madam Chair, all the other associations that we're talking about, how they feel about this Love Fest, or can we all just
we're
get
all under
along?
that, we're all under that umbrella.
Everybody
We
agrees to
actually,
that?
matter of fact, when we did the structure on this, and it becomes very confusing, and I would need, a good hour on that, how each association has a vote on what we're doing on anything that of agenda, of the expenditures, any kind of the dollars. So they have a vote, Collier counties have, I'm a vote as well with Lake County and DuPage, and then Cook has 4 votes. So if you look into, it's all in here, but it's just, I mean, you would have to really sit down and make a snack
Yeah,
and get a pot of coffee.
Put in a small report for it.
Right, and we do need to kind of localize it, but it's, and I'm not exaggerating, this has been at least, what, Nick, 4 years in the making of trying to have like this vision. And it's not easy trying to get these groups. And you have the little fee funds, and you have, downstate, and they're not wanting. We have one right now. We have one of the associations that has not been involved. I'm not gonna, deny that. We have, Kelly's group they have not been at the table. Everyone else, we have not had any kind of issues. So it has been nice. Metro Counties looks like that is actually dissolving. The Illinois Association of County Board Members, correct. But it becomes, if you want to talk about it after, off record, I will kind of give you my opinion on that one. So this is going to be, and it is, it's going to be some growing pains, but I also think we have been going through some growing pains. I mean, Nick and Reagan, you guys were both at this meeting. Nick, do you have anything to add to these meetings? You were at the first one.
I mean, I've heard this presentation so many times I give it, but it's like, I think it's a good thing. I think this does give an opportunity to bring all the counties from the state together. I'm not sure that all the downstate counties are going to sign on immediately. Some of them have hesitation just because they don't like Chicagoland area, and I think that's unfortunate. And they're much smaller too. But 80-some% of the population is in the Chicago greater area. So, I mean, if we get the collar counties together and the greater Chicago area, some of the big counties, which I think they are coming aboard, that's the vision that I think Metro County started with but never really achieved. But it is, as Norman said, this is a force that could rival, say, or model after somewhat the municipal league and others when there's issues that affect counties, say the budget. I mean, if we're all united on this, or the CCD issue is probably one that we should present to this group and say, this may not directly impact you, but you should be concerned for the future. So it's, and I think for Will County, we're not only going to be representing the governing board, but then we're part of the LUC group because we're bigger than 100,000. And then there's the Collar County and Chicago, Cook, or I guess not Chicago, Cook and the Collars have a separate board that's been meeting informally for a long time. So
and they're going to be a part of this as well.
So county board and county executive's office will be represented at the different levels. So I think that's positive. So we have.
And we're going to have Larry that's still going to stay on that, and then Speaker Mustis would be of that going on to the large urban caucus. And they call, again, we're calling it luck. I'm not even sure that's what we're going to say. And this all goes and it segues into, and then once again into the national level of that with NACO. Yeah, where we'll be on to LC, large county. So that's, I mean, it does kind of take a lot and to come through. I think this would be very, very effective for us in the way that we work. We do have a few things that makes us a little different than the rest of the large counties. We were just talking about this CDD, this actually kind of, that way Brent is working so diligently and so hard on something like that, and he's not getting the rest of the county, but that's why we still have our single as well as that of our association. We're not going to be putting in any more into the Illinois Association of County Board Members. We're not going to be putting into, none of those, I know in the IC, the acronyms are ridiculous, and I apologize, I'm sure I'm fudging them all up. The UCI, so those, we will not be going into them anymore. We're going to be solely into this one association. So with that, we would need that a vote to go ahead and to do with the dues of the $27,365. $27,365.
This is for
Well,
fiscal year 19 or 18?
Let me say that this move is the executive, because this should come out of executive.
Okay, I have no problem with that. I'll explain it all again.
No, you can, well, I think it's a large, well, what you should do is make a vote supporting.
Motion, I'll make a motion to support the resolution to pay the annual dues of $27,365 to,
Are we going to do that or just in support? Are we going to hold off the dues for executive or in support? Okay.
supporting the resolution for the
Okay.
amount.
Okay.
So,
That's recommendation, and I'll move the second.
We need a roll call?
For 19. Is this going to be the 19 budget or the 18
That'll
budget?
probably be the 18th budget.
it's due September 1st. Right?
It'll be
It's
the 18th budget.
due,
They'd like it as soon as possible, is what they said.
Doesn't matter.
they call it 2018 dues, but I don't know what the background.
What I'll do is I'll leave a spot on the county board agenda. So put it on the executive, committee. It's too late to put it on, I'll just move the spot. Yeah,
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, no, that's great. Do we need a roll call or? Do we have a roll call?
Moran,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Colitis,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Regala. No. Parker. Yes. Staley Carey. Yes. Hart.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Sorry. Okay. Motion carries, thank you. And again, it's lots of information. Any of you, if you want to call, you have questions, Judy, if you have any questions or concerns. Right, oh yeah, no, I 100% agree. It's a lot to take in 18 minutes, so. Okay, we are going to go right on to, and this is really important, the transportation resolution for NACO that we have put up. We've, again, been a big steering ship for the airports and what we've been doing. This is our second. Don, you want to kind of go in? This was your initiative.
It's essentially exactly the same resolution we submitted last year on the FAA reauthorization, I can't say it right now, SCASB, and airport improvement funds. It's exactly the same one we did last year, but they expire annually at NACO, so they have to be reintroduced each year before the full board. So that's what we're proposing to send today. It's due by the end of business today on the East Coast, so.
We just wanted to make sure that we had support that in the committee. Or if there's any questions.
You're not going to kidney stones, so you can present this.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Oh, Jim had to be like thrown into that.
I hope not. I've had enough bad days today already.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, so I mean, do we need to even put anything of that of support? If we can go ahead and do the resolution so we can have this, even though we do have to submit it this evening, by this evening. If we can get Reagan, would we be able to get that over to the resolution?
Sophie?
Over to Sophie? Did we send you the?
I emailed it to her and you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, she sent me an email last night again asking if we were going to submit a new resolution, renew the old resolution. So I'd say, let's just send it to her again and make sure that in the email it's clear to her that that is the resolution we're submitting to NACO for the transportation steering committee.
And here's a side note, she's new. So.
Tell her what's going to happen. What happens is these resolutions go in and then staff reviews them and there may be other resolutions that come in at the same time and they may want to combine the resolutions at the actual meeting.
Yeah, you and I know that.
So, yeah, we had to do that last year. Remember, this one that we have here, is that the final
That's the
one
one that
we
you
did
and I
last year?
combined all
Yeah.
three.
Because we had to incorporate a bunch of other things into it last year there too, that other counties across the country had brought, because they wanted to have one resolution.
And
This
that-
may end up getting merged into other stuff too, it's the same this year, so.
But we can have that. So if I could just have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Again, if anyone has any questions on the whole resolution process or what we're doing, Don would be definitely more than happy to talk to you more about that. Okay, update on the soda.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. Last month, County Board Member Ogala gave an overview of a trio of solar bills that were at the Illinois legislature for review. All three of them have passed. I just want to give an overview of what those were and then where they landed. I'll be brief because I know that we've been here for a while. Senate Bill 486. This was the property tax bill that will handle how these ground-mounted commercial solar arrays will be assessed. They'll be assessed at $218,000 per megawatt. And Rhonda knows that I was going to talk about this.
I'm trying to do two things at once.
And those tax revenues go to support the school systems. The array itself will receive its own PIN number. So let's say the developer decides not to pay taxes. That property owner doesn't have to worry about there being a lien on their property. It would be a lien on the facility itself. Does that make sense? And so when it's decommissioned, that PIN just goes away.
Okay.
Which is very good.
Very good, Rhonda says. Rhonda approves.
Rhonda approves.
So that essentially is the overview of that. And since I'm guessing there was nothing further that Rhonda wanted to add. SB 2591, this was the Agricultural Impact Mitigation Agreement, or AMA. This will address a lot of the concerns that have come up at land use, and then we've been trying to condition these special use permits, so on and so forth, and now the state will kind of be that overarching authority that says this is the way it's going to be for some of these issues that all of the counties that have seen interest from developers are experiencing. So basically, this will say, okay, developer, you want to install a solar array, you have to submit to us within 45 days before you start construction in AMA to the Department of Ag, and that will outline what happens if they break a drain tile. Now, the Illinois law already addresses broken drain tiles, but this says exactly how that is to be done. It refers to drainage, it refers to vegetation, it refers to removal, and it will also require that all the developers put up a decommissioning bond. And I know that's been a concern of all board members with these proposals coming forward. So that will be at the state's level. They have 60 days to put out the final AMA. There's a draft that's out. I really do think that it's going to look remarkably similar to what's already out there. And then we have SB 3214. This is a pollinator-friendly bill. This is basically a voluntary program if a developer wants to go above and beyond to use a seed mix that's going to attract local species and support our pollinators. They will get a pollinator designation through the state of Illinois. So that's a great benefit, especially because it excludes them from using any weed mixes in the seed mix, which I know some surrounding farmers have had concern that weeds are going to get into their crop. So this clarifies that. So that's a summary, a brief overview.
Judy had something to do with it.
I know that there is lots of time put into all of this, so thank you all.
No, thank you for everything you have done. Again, Bull County's leader.
Wonderful.
Any questions? Yeah, could you just tell me what was the assessed value again?
218,000 per megawatt. So most of the proposals that are before you are 2 megawatts. The law changed a little bit, so some of them might start looking like 4 megawatts. So that's about $500,000, give or take some change, per solar farm that's installed in Will County.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ms. Thank you. Yes.
I have one question for you.
Of course.
Do you know how much money's collected from everybody, you know, the total amount, how much is collected from your ComEd bills and your gas bills for this energy stuff? So I'm wondering if the amount of money they're paying in taxes is the same or more.
Sure, so that would, since we just got this figure, I can refer to the Illinois Power Bureau and see exactly what the total revenue stream is for that. and then I can let you know, based on how much solar is going to be developed in the next 5 years, do a rough estimate on that tax revenue, and then show you what the net positive or net loss
Sam?
is.
Would you like Steve to email that question to you so you have that, or?
I
do you wanna
welcome
make-
emails from any board member anytime.
Okay, so, or phone calls. Right, so you can,
I'm not going to email anymore. I'm only bringing it up at committees, because I'm not going to wait 5 months for the information.
well, if you go, like I said, I think the procedure should be of that, of an email, and then to copy on Reagan, and so she'd be able to go and follow up
I did
as
that
well.
before. I did that, Suzanne.
Maybe, copy me, copy
Steve
me. I'll
Money
get it.
Sign, that's my note for today. Thank you very
There
much.
you go. Thank you, Sam, that would be wonderful. Okay, so any other new business? Public comment? Is there any public comment? Okay, no need for executive session. Our next meeting will be July 10th. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned.